Continuing on to the next subject of our discovery is speaker 4679 and the speech entitled, "I'm a Private Person."
We all have that one aunt at Thanksgiving dinner. Carlo, how's it going, kid? Do you have a girlfriend yet? Do you have any dark secrets I don't already know about? It's like, slow your roll, auntie. You just got here. But it's not just the aunties. It was never just the aunties. Last fall, I began the process of college applications. And beyond just the general difficulty, the whole process felt like those aunties at Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, one required essay prompt literally asked me to tell them about a pet I had and how it shaped my identity. First, it's very bold of them to assume that my parents would trust me with any living thing. But also, why do I need to mine my identity for them? Why do I need to pick myself apart just to prove I'm worthy of an education? But this privacy issue doesn't just exist in college applications or at the Thanksgiving dinner table. There are certain people and groups around us who routinely invade the privacy of others for no good reason. And it's high time we address it. This issue is complicated, so let's start simply by looking at 3 examples and the long-term impact of unnecessary inquiries into the privacy of others. Then we'll be ready to discuss what's okay to ask, and what, quite frankly, is none of our business. Now, I'm not the only one with an auntie who asks way too many questions. In fact, according to a study conducted by Pew Research Center, 6 in 10 Americans believe it is not possible to get through a day without being asked some sort of invasive question. But numbers aren't sufficient stand-ins for people. So let's consider our first example, the 2022 TV series Heartstopper, which follows 2 teenage boys coming to terms with their queer identities. Heartstopper was universally acclaimed for its inclusivity, but some fans took to social media and attacked Kit Connor, one of the leads, for queerbaiting, or intentionally falsifying a queer identity to appeal to a queer audience. Connor clarified on Twitter that he identifies as bisexual, just like his character. Make no mistake, Connor was literally harassed into publicly declaring his sexuality, whether he was ready to do so or not. And while he was well supported by his colleagues throughout this time, the same cannot be said for everyone else. Imagine the girl afraid of her friends' reactions to coming out as bisexual, or the boy whose parents would disown him for being gay. For those without that network of support, these invasions aren't just uncomfortable, they can have life-altering consequences. Similar implications exist for our second example, Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales. The media regularly invades the privacy of women in the royal family, but they reached a new low in March. After disappearing from the public eye for 2 weeks, Kate Middleton faced a swirl of speculation. The tabloids accused her of sneaking off to have plastic surgery and accused her husband of cheating on her. The truth? Kate Middleton has cancer. Just like Kit Connor, Kate Middleton was dealing with something intensely personal, and an invasion of her privacy added unneeded distress to the situation. And I know she's a beautiful, rich celebrity who chose a role in the public eye, but our circumstances should not dictate our access to privacy, to freedom from unauthorized intrusion into our lives. Now, Connor and Middleton's experiences demonstrate invasions of privacy for individuals in specific circumstances. However, this issue expands to broader societal debates that encompass everyday people, which brings me neatly to my third example, this nation's discourse around women's healthcare. Politico reports that in the aftermath of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, we have witnessed increased media coverage of many women's poignant and deeply personal experiences with abortion. I've lost count of the number of times I've turned on the news to hear stories of women in horrific circumstances. But regardless of the politics around this issue, can't we all agree it is an immense invasion of privacy to parade out these highly personal narratives? As Jessica Valenti from the New York Times put it, the matter of abortion deserves privacy, not a public spectacle. While it is natural to want to connect with others to understand their experiences, instances like those nosy aunties, Kit Connor, Kate Middleton, and the media's invasive reporting on abortion have one harmful impact in common. Psychologist Namrata Katan explains that they make us become cautious about sharing our feelings and experiences with others. We start questioning who we can truly trust and whether our personal information will be handled with the respect that it deserves. And the problem is, genuine relationships require a sense of safety that enables us to be vulnerable. But if we're constantly on guard, filtering what we share and withholding our true thoughts and emotions for fear they won't remain private, our connections with others become superficial and not really connections at all. In a world so desperate to know, we lose the courage to talk about how we feel. We become guarded, cautious, and consequently, pushed apart from one another. So now you might be waiting for my personal story, because it's what the norms of oratory tell me to do here. What makes this topic uniquely mine? Why is my voice the one that needs to speak on it? But to mine my experiences just to answer those questions, I feel, would be a complete contradiction to everything I've said so far. And not only that, but I believe this message can stand all on its own without me beating you over the head with unnecessary details from my private life. There are speakers here who do share their compelling personal experiences, but it's just not me. I'm a private person. Instead, I would ask you to fill in the blank with your own stories so that together we can examine these ideas, but work in our own private lives to apply them. Now that we've handled that heart moment, where do our solutions begin? The first step is understanding what defines an invasion of someone else's privacy. According to Michael McFarland, author of the book Ethics in the Age of Disruptive Technologies, the best question to ask is, does the world need to know this information? Example, do we need to know the sexuality of an actor to enjoy a fictional TV series? No. Might we, as voters, need to know a political figure's health, financial, or criminal history to determine their fitness to serve as a national leader? Probably. So before we ask someone for their personal information, we should ask ourselves, do I need to know this to take my next steps? And if we're confident the answer is yes, then we can ask the question. But if it's not need to know, then we should just assume it's not our business. Now that we know what defines an invasion of someone else's privacy, how do we address this epidemic? Well, my coach told me about this thing she does when someone asks her a question she doesn't feel comfortable answering. She simply says, "You don't know me well enough to ask me that." See, we are each entitled to feel secure in ourselves, so we shouldn't let anyone invade that. And if they do, we should point it out to them. Because once we're comfortable standing up for ourselves, we can stand up for others. Did you know that if you ask one of those new ChatGPT AI bots about a celebrity's personal life, it says, personal matters are typically considered private, and it is up to the individual to share that information if they feel comfortable doing so. It's important to respect people's privacy and not make assumptions. So if we ever see someone speculating about someone else's private information or asking an invasive question, we should channel our inner AI and pointed out to them. When we collectively fortify our privacy at the individual level, we can create a culture where privacy is respected and protected for every individual. You know, sometimes I have these moments where I'm just sitting alone in my room. I turn on some ABBA, and I just start moving and dancing, and I'm totally offbeat, making some of the quirkiest moves known to humankind, but I haven't a worry in the world because no one's watching me. No one's judging. Privacy is having that space where we can be unapologetically ourselves. We need spaces like that because they allow us to explore who we are. I have no doubt that we can combat the harms of this issue. Progress starts with advocating for our own privacy and that of others. It starts with us, all of us, even those nosy aunties.